I am Jacob Allen, and I'm just going to walk you through the different parts of my ePortfolio. So starting here with my goals, the video in here talks about some of my personal and professional goals based on different timelines. So you can watch through that to see what things I'm interested in doing over the next couple years. Next, we have written in my leadership philosophy, most of it being about democratic principle practices. You can read through that and find out more about what I believe as a leader. Next, we have the plan of study, which is the classes that I took in order to create, or in order to obtain the degree for this program. Following that is my resume for up-to-date resume. Different things that I've done back to my student teaching experience until now. Following that, in this next portion, we have the activity form where I submitted the different activities that I did. And then below here is an Excel table or a Google Sheets table of all the activities that I did. But those are highlighted or described better in there's a couple PowerPoints down here. Next, we have my administration verification forms, first being my district and secondary one, which is one of my principals at my high school. And then following that, we have the verification from the elementary school that I worked with. Following that, we have my annotated bibliography, which focuses on a couple different questions. Each question has 3 resources or more. And so you can see the question is here. I have my reference and then the annotation with each one of my sources. You can look through. This is the video we are currently making that you can find here. So I'm going to skip just a little bit and show you to my written reflection first. So this is just a reflection about completing the program and different findings that I had and questions that I came across, starting with misconceptions or confusions that I had coming in, and then explaining those, what I found out, and then making a conjecture or a question about them, and then analyzing that conjecture, and then finishing with a synthesis about what did I find out when I did that analysis. So now I'm just going to walk you through the activities that I did. They're displayed here, you can see. So first up, we have the KSDE training about Is Your Attitude Showing? This was about working through difficult situations, and one of the unique things about it was it just gave you different, very random activities in order to relieve tension. I did this on 6/15, and it took me 2 hours. Next up, we have the district equity training that my district hosted, Jeffco. Sitting alongside my principals in this and learning about equitable teaching practices and leadership practices and different things that you might be doing that you don't even realize that you're not treating all students fairly. The next one is one of my bigger projects that I dove into this year, which was instituting some new curriculum for the year, which was SketchUp. SketchUp is the digital tool, but what I did was made my own curriculum surrounding this digital tool, and then taught other teachers about it, and then ran the curriculum in the school. So I credited myself for the training portion of that, which took place on the 19th and 20th and was 18 hours. And then the other times when I was helping teachers learn how to use this program and use this curriculum that I helped them with and gave to them was on the 1st of October and then the 12th of December. And then next up we had the district technology meeting. This is once a semester, I believe, might be once a year. I can't remember for sure. I was only at one of them, but this is about different technology needs that the school might have. So I was there advocating for teachers because they had shared with me previous to this the different needs they have. And the follow-up of this, the other part of this meeting was mainly discussing one-to-one and what that was going to look like in our school, because the district is making us one-to-one for the following school year. document over on the right is previous notes from previous meeting notes, and then kind of leading into what this meeting was about. Next up was the KSDE Security and Data Privacy Training. So this was teaching you safe practices when you're using data of any sort, different ways to make sure that you don't get yourself in trouble, basically. This took me 2 hours and took place on June 16th of 2020. And so that is my final district activity. I'm going to switch over to my elementary ones now. So on elementary, I worked at Little Elementary, which you can see there. This was my first big project with them, was working on mission and vision. I first decided to redesign the mission and vision for them with Canva. So that's what you see on the right. Before it was just a Word document with text. And then next I did a study completely of their mission and vision, comparing that to the feeder high school with them, but also looking at what would the mission and vision fit with remote learning for next year. Does it still apply to their school? So I raised a bunch of questions that then on the 9th talked with the principal about, and we went through each bullet of that and just said, you know what, here's how it can meet it if you present it to your teachers this way, and ask them as well if they feel the same. Following that, I also attended a PIE meeting, is the acronym for it, is a principal's meeting at the elementary school. And this meeting was mainly about how was the year going to finish because of the interesting circumstances from Corona, and how was the next year going to go, and then how are they going to ethically distribute technology to students, because when they were leaving they thought they might be coming back, so only one device per household happened, and they were trying to decide if that was the best practice. Next up we have what I did was looking at culture. This was the Make Your Voices Heard survey. That's what that stands for. It's done by every school in the district. But what I did was I compared that to my high school. And what we talked about, or what I first looked at, was how the questions compared to each other, and then just how our rankings on the answers compared to each other, and was there a trend of the numbers with each school. And then following that, I looked up ideas to help with some of the trouble areas, and then lastly met with the principal to discuss all those findings. Next up we have my case study from EDL 856. If you click on the picture on the right, that should bring you to the actual link. If that doesn't work, you might just need to open up my actual presentation in order to access that link. Next up we have another one of the bigger projects I did, which was doing a town hall for Little. So initially the first part of that was setting it up and getting a questionnaire out to all the parents, and then holding those 2 meetings. The next one in my elementary was another case study from EDL 854. This was surrounding finances, and then this activity happened for 3 hours. And then lastly, I was part of the the physical education interviews for Little Elementary. And this link is just a blank slate of what the questions are that they ask a candidate. So now finishing off with secondary, which is the longest one. This is, I believe, where my focus will be. I also have a little bit of interest in elementary as well, so I was really diving in with that principal and trying to figure it all out. And she moved from being a secondary teacher to elementary, so that was also something I was questioning her about, was just, you know, how did that process happen? What did she have to do to kind of gain their trust of a secondary educator to be an elementary principal? But for secondary, the first I had was going to the principal's council meetings. They were once a month, and then near the end of the year, they felt like we needed to meet every other week so that you can see just how those progress, and each one has what the topics were for the day. Next, we have the doing team norms among the staff members of ACE. So you can see those first 3 there. That's the beginning of the school year, getting things figured out. What rules does ACE have? Different ideas that I pitched, brought in, and so I led all these meetings. instead of our principal. And then we came back for the new year, new half of the school year, technically new year, but we met again to rediscuss norms. Next we have when we went to our Corona timeline and we're all digital, the principal was running the digital meetings, and then there was a request for help with our digital meetings, and so I came in and helped our principal redesign his meetings, create an agenda that he can give to people, and then re-normed everybody. So on the 9th, I led the meeting just talking about our new norms that our principal was going to use. This is my FERPA video training. You can see over there on the right from EDL 850. Next was the FISH meeting. This is a climate meeting, or a school culture meeting. They plan different activities through the year. So I was one of the representatives for that, brought some of the teacher ideas so that they talked to me, so I brought that in for them, and then just met with these other stakeholders in the school about different school culture ideas. On the right there was the agenda for the day, and this was a 2-hour meeting. Next we have the redesign for back to school for the following year. So just different changes that we need to make, different things we've talked through, and then all the details of this are under the link if you just click on our school symbol there. And the document was made on the 2nd, the 20th, and then I believe this was an 8-hour activity. Next we have my digital principals meetings. This was the principals council meetings that we did to finish the school year, so 2 of those happened a week apart, or about a week apart from each other. One of them was follow-up from one of the meetings, was having to put together the calendar for the following year for the ACE team instead of the principal doing this. So again, just taking on different responsibilities for the program and learning a lot about what that means. Next was a school and schedule offerings that I calculated. This was seeing what different classes that our school offers, because we're alternative and it's important to get credits. So it's a whole calculation page that you can take a look at, and it was a 5-hour process. Next, this is when I was the testing coordinator for a couple different tests a couple different times of the year. So we have the MAP test a few times, but also the PSAT. So setting up groups and arranging rooms and putting students where they're supposed to be. Next, we have a redesign of a program that I was asked to spearhead, which was Volunteer Day. This was also an outline that was written on the 21st, but the work took place before. And you can look at the checklist of different things that took place under the mountain again. Next, we have I did the EOYA KSE training. So there was a lot about registering students and how students get evaluated or counted, which is important for us because we have such a transient population. Next, we have I was the administrator for our credit recovery program for just 1 day, so that was the 16th, and that was 2 hours. Following that, we have parent-teacher conferences, being in charge of my team's parent-teacher conferences, getting things set up, getting the message out, getting it set up, doing a building usage type thing, getting the secretary, janitor, and then facilities manager all involved just to get parent-teacher conferences rolling. We had a fall school celebration, which is going to be a new thing, but again, this was another one that's being planned. You can see here, again, 22nd of June is when I put that together, but all the hours were taking place before. Next, we have the master schedule meetings. A couple different times, just reworking the schedule for McLean throughout the year. You can see all the details on the right there about notes. Next, we had the railroad crossing. So did this one because all teachers at McLean actually need this for driving activity buses. Then finishing, we have leading the ACE team meetings. So details are in the mountain about which dates those were. This is a Spirit Week for the upcoming year that I created, so a 2-hour activity. And then walkthroughs with my instructional coach to finish off, and that was a 2-hour activity on the 10th of September. Thank you for watching.